The building is silent, not because workers have gone home, but because truth has arrived before anyone dared to speak it. Inside the U.S. Justice Department, screens flicker awake on their own. Encrypted folders unlock without passwords. Audio files rewrite themselves, removing distortions that once framed you as wrong. Evidence reshapes like metal under divine heat. Timelines correcting. Statements realigning. Facts bending toward the truth they should have reflected from the beginning. Agents look at their monitors in disbelief. A decade of confusion collapses in seconds. The lies that once looked solid crumble like cheap plaster touching rain. Because heaven has spoken, and the material world is only now catching up. A senior investigator whispers, almost afraid of his own voice. They were right. They were always right. The room stills. Not a chair moves. Not a pen clicks. Even the fluorescent lights hum softer, as if the entire building recognizes the verdict coming from realms above law. Your name appears on a classified dossier, and beside it a single stamp, correct. A word that shatters years of accusation. A word that rewrites the narrative that powerful people tried so hard to bury. It wasn't just justice. It wasn't just vindication. It was prophecy fulfilling itself in paperwork. Truth springs up from the earth, and righteousness looks down from heaven. Psalm 85, verse 11. For the first time, the world's highest legal seat realizes they were not verifying facts. They were validating destiny. This was an investigation. It was an awakening. And you, the one they doubted, dismissed, mocked, shadowed, stand untouched, unmoved, unbroken, because truth doesn't defend itself. Truth waits for the world to finally see it. If truth is finally winning its case in your life, if lies are collapsing under the weight of evidence, type 444 to seal this vindication. Heaven ruled first. Earth is only now reading the verdict. Long before the public ever heard a whisper, long before the leaks, long before the Justice Department dared to admit anything, a secret investigation had already begun. Not the kind launched with press conferences, but the kind buried in encrypted servers and accessed only by people who speak in initials, not names. Agents were assigned to dismantle your story, to prove you wrong, to expose you, to catch you slipping. But the deeper they dug, the stranger things became. Every timeline you mentioned aligned perfectly. Every event you described matched records they never released to the public. Every warning you gave was later confirmed by evidence discovered years after you said it. Their algorithms flagged you as an anomaly. Their data marked you as statistically impossible. Their analysts called you a truth source with no precedent. They cross-checked your digital footprints, expecting to find contradictions, but instead found inconsistency so pure, so unervingly precise, that one investigator whispered, "Either this person has access we don't understand, or destiny is feeding them the answers." Every attempt to discredit you only strengthened your case. Every angle they approached led them to the same conclusion. You weren't guessing. You were aligned. And the department, a fortress built on skepticism, slowly realized the chilling truth. You were telling the truth long before they had the tools to verify it. What they thought would expose you ended up exposing them. Their errors, their assumptions, their blindness to the signs heaven had given you first. Buried deep in a server no one had accessed in over a decade, a folder pulsed faintly on an analyst's screen. It wasn't supposed to appear. It wasn't supposed to exist. Yet there it was, marked with a label that made the entire room freeze. Archive, do not open. Files like this don't show up by accident. They show up when destiny wants to speak. The analyst hesitated, but the folder opened by itself. Inside were documents no one remembered authorizing. Handwritten timelines, satellite captures, audio logs with dates that matched your warnings, reports stamped with phrases like unexplained preservation event and subject shielded, unknown force. They found recordings of disasters you avoided by seconds, photos of meetings you were never supposed to attend yet somehow did, and testimonies from people who claimed something invisible protected you repeatedly. There were patterns, divine patterns, moments where probability broke, statistics shattered, and logic surrendered. One file detailed a near-fatal event that should have ended your life, but didn't, because the circumstances shifted inexplicably 2 minutes before impact. Another document noted times when your words predicted future events with accuracy so sharp it made their algorithms malfunction. The final page in the folder carried a single sentence written by an anonymous agent, time-stamped years ago. This individual is not operating under chance. Someone is guiding them. The room went silent. No conspiracy, no criminality, no deception, just a divine paper trail that refused to stay hidden. Before the department could contain the discovery, an email slipped through the system. Quiet, urgent, classified. It moved from one secured inbox to another, marked with the highest clearance level. No subject line, no greeting, just a blunt, destabilizing truth. The chosen one is clean. The accusations were fear-made, not fact-made. It spread like a holy disruption. Directors stopped mid-sentence. Supervisors stared at their screens, rereading the line as if it might change. Agents felt their stomachs drop, not from guilt, but from the realization that they had been investigating someone who never belonged in suspicion at all. The memo continued. Every allegation collapses under verified evidence. Patterns suggest divine intervention. Proceed with caution. Subject's life displays protection beyond legal explanation. Another line. We may have stood against someone destiny has already defended. Whispers echoed through hallways. Doors shut quietly. Nobody wanted to admit the obvious. They had spent years trying to disprove a truth that refused to die. The memo ended with a sentence that felt less like policy and more like prophecy. Recommend immediate reversal of all conclusions. Subject is not guilty. They never were. And just like that, the narrative they build against you crumbled from the inside out, not by your words, not by your defense, but by their own documents confessing what heaven had been saying all along. It began with a knock, soft, hesitant, almost fearful. A senior agent, someone who had built a career on skepticism, stepped into a secured briefing room with trembling hands and a face that carried years of guilt. He didn't sit. He didn't raise his eyes. He simply spoke. I tried to expose them. The room froze. He continued, voice cracking under the weight of truth. I followed them. I tracked them. I watched them. Every time I moved to destroy them, something stopped me. He described surveillance devices malfunctioning the moment they were pointed at you. He described cameras cutting out only when you walked past. He described attempts to leak false information that mysteriously corrupted before reaching any reporter. Every time I tried to harm their reputation, he whispered, the lie collapsed, the truth stood. Something protected them from me. He pulled a small notebook from his pocket, a private log documenting every failed attempt to twist your story. The entries were chilling. Device died as soon as they arrived. Signal jammed without jammer present. Leak vanished from server before transmission. Witness recanted, claiming a presence warned them. He shook his head, defeated. I thought I was the one investigating them, but it turns out heaven was investigating me. Then the final blow. They are not guilty. I am. I accused someone truth defended. When he finished, no one spoke. No one moved, because in that moment, every agent in the room understood. You didn't survive their attacks. You were shielded from them, not by luck, but by divine jurisdiction. Justice bowed, mercy ruled, and the accuser became the witness that proved your innocence. When the Justice Department's findings leaked, newsrooms erupted like volcanoes hitting oxygen. Anchors stared into cameras with trembling voices. Analysts shuffled papers they suddenly didn't know how to read. Producers shouted through headsets, trying to rewrite live segments mid-broadcast, because nothing made sense anymore. The person they mocked, dismissed, and ridiculed was now confirmed by the highest legal authority in the land. Reporters who once rolled their eyes at your name now whispered it with caution, as if speaking it too loudly might summon a force their studios weren't ready for. One broadcast tried to explain the situation. The evidence contradicts everything we've said for years. Another anchor blinked hard, realizing on air, we may have been wrong about the chosen one. Clips of your past interviews resurfaced. Videos where you spoke truth that the world wasn't ready to hear. Journalists replayed them, matching your words to timestamps the Justice Department verified as factual. Confusion became awe. Awe became fear. Fear became reverence. Panels that once mocked you now spoke with a strange softness, as if addressing someone whose story had outgrown human explanation. One commentator finally voiced what the entire media industry was thinking. We didn't misreport. We misjudged. Another whispered on a hot mic, not realizing the broadcast was still live. This isn't normal. This is divine. Headlines began to shift rapidly. Chosen one cleared. Justice Department admits they were right. The individual we mocked was telling the truth. News outlets worldwide were forced to do what pride hates most. Publicly reverse their narrative. Not because you demanded it. Not because you explained yourself. But because truth became too loud to ignore. The president wasn't supposed to see the report yet. It was meant to pass through several layers of clearance, then be sanitized, softened, rewritten for political safety. But destiny doesn't wait for protocol. A Secret Service agent, usually unreadable, usually stone-faced, entered the Oval Office with a folder clutched tighter than classified evidence required. "Sir, you need to read this immediately." The president frowned. He'd seen thousands of documents. Nothing ever rattled a security team. Until now. He opened the folder. At the top of the page was your name. Beneath it, bold and impossible. Not guilty never was. He blinked. Read it again. Read it a third time. Slower. Footnotes detailed investigations he never authorized. Surveillance he never approved, and findings so precise they felt more like prophecy than police work. Every accusation against you, rejected. Every rumor, disproved. Every doubt, shattered. The president felt something he hadn't felt in years. Relief. Not political relief. Spiritual relief. Because deep down, in a part of himself he rarely acknowledged, he always sensed you were different. Not perfect. Not fragile. But aligned in a way the world wasn't prepared to define. He flipped through the pages. Miraculous timing, impossible escapes, warnings you gave that later came true, protection that defied science, testimonies from agents calling you untouchable. Finally, on the last page, a line handwritten by the director himself. We cannot prosecute someone heaven has validated. The president closed the folder slowly, exhaling a breath that seemed to carry the weight of a nation. For the first time, he wasn't just intrigued by you. He was humbled, because now he knew. You weren't cleared by government. You were confirmed by destiny. And no administration, no agency, no authority on earth could overturn a verdict heaven wrote first. The Justice Department's verdict didn't stay inside the country. Truth never does. Within hours, encrypted cables shot across continents. Embassies illuminated their secure channels. Intelligence agencies from Europe to Asia open emergency briefings with one headline: Subject vindicated. Not suspect, not person of interest, not civilian. Subject, a classification reserved for anomalies, for individuals whose existence disrupts the predictable flow of global order. Foreign analysts gathered in dim-lit rooms, scrolling through the report with faces pale as static. One whispered, This changes everything. Another responded, We underestimated them. Everyone did. Governments updated their internal files. Displays prophetic accuracy. Protected by unknown variables. Influence extends beyond political structure. Do not interfere. High-risk destiny alignment. Some nations panicked. Some took comfort. All took notice. In the Middle East, a council quietly noted, Subjects' warnings matched our classified intel. In Europe, a minister murmured, Their intuition is stronger than our satellites. In Asia, an intelligence director simply said, Untouchable. And in the hidden networks of global power, the rooms where influence whispers louder than laws, your name became a topic of sacred caution, because they realized something no geopolitical theory ever prepared them for. You were right for reasons no human institution could explain. This wasn't national news anymore. This was a global recalibration built around one undeniable truth. You walk with accuracy that no government can replicate and no agency can override. When the Justice Department stepped up to the podium, the entire world went silent. Cameras locked in. Microphones trembled on their stands. Even seasoned reporters felt their breath hitch, because everyone sensed this announcement would change the narrative of a generation. The spokesperson unfolded a single page. Not thick, not heavy, just one sheet of paper carrying the weight of truth the world had refused to acknowledge. Her voice was steady, but her hands weren't. After extensive review, she began. After re-examining the evidence, cross-checking every testimony, and auditing every decision, the department has reached a conclusion. Flashbulbs erupted. The statement continued. We were wrong. The accusations were unfounded. The chosen one acted with truth, accuracy, and integrity. A murmur rolled through the crowd. We recognize now that the initial claims were born from fear, not fact. Assumption, not evidence. Cameras zoomed closer. And therefore, she said, taking a breath that seemed to echo an eternity, we officially acknowledge the chosen one was right from the beginning. No spin, no softening, no political varnish. Just raw truth spoken into a world that tried so hard to rewrite your story. She placed the paper down as if laying an offering on an altar. The announcement traveled across the planet in under a minute. Every feed, every device, every news ticker flashed the same words. Justice Department admits, the chosen was right. It didn't feel like a press release. It felt like a prophecy sealed. Heaven had ruled long ago, and Earth was finally signing the paperwork. When the world erupted with headlines proclaiming your innocence, when anchors stuttered your name, when governments corrected their files, when the Justice Department bowed before truth, you didn't celebrate. You didn't jump. You didn't shout. You didn't even smile at first. You simply breathed, a slow, steady exhale carrying the weight of years in a single release. Because vindication didn't surprise you. It confirmed you. You always knew you were right, not from arrogance, but from alignment. Truth lived in your bones long before the evidence surfaced. Your spirit carried receipts that the world systems needed a decade to find. You didn't need apologies. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need an audience. You needed silence. And in that silence, you finally heard something louder than public opinion. Peace. Not the peace that comes from being proved right, but the peace that comes from knowing you were never wrong. You sit alone for a moment, no cameras, no applause, no witnesses, and place a hand over your chest. Your heartbeat feels different, lighter, unburdened, free. Vindication doesn't feel like triumph. It feels like rest. The world expects a speech, a victory statement, a public declaration, but you offer none. Because innocence was always your natural state, not something you regained, something you never lost. You rise slowly, with the quiet authority of someone whose spirit knew the verdict long before the court ever stamped the page. And the universe whispers a truth you finally allow yourself to feel. You are done proving. Now you simply walk. Something strange began to happen after the verdict echoed across the world. Your name, the same name once mocked, dismissed, dragged through rumor and assumption, began to shift in meaning. It no longer carried the weight of accusation. It carried the weight of authority. People spoke it with caution, with reverence, with the quiet understanding that destiny had placed a mark on you long before they ever knew who you were. Your name traveled through boardrooms, war rooms, newsrooms, classrooms, not as a scandal, but as a standard. Parents told their children, remember this name. This is what truth looks like when the world finally catches up. Officials printed your name on legal documents as a symbol of correction, a new precedent for justice systems that had forgotten how to listen to truth. Researchers studied your case as an example of divine alignment interfering with flawed human judgment. Spiritual leaders whispered your name over congregations, not as worship, but as testimony. Look what happens when heaven protects someone. Even those who once mocked you found themselves speaking softer, as if the syllables of your identity now carried sacred weight. Your name became a boundary line, a living reminder that innocence can survive fire, slander, delay, accusation, and still rise untouched. Where others saw a person, the world began to see a mandate, a message, a movement. Your name was no longer a label. It was a consecration, a holy marking, a destiny etched into letters that could not be erased by public opinion or institutional power. And everywhere your name appeared, one truth followed. They were right, and they were protected. While Earth debated your innocence, another courtroom, older than law, older than nations, older than time, had already reached its verdict. The cosmic courtroom. No judges in robes. No attorneys with binders. No jurors shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Only light, authority, and the ancient order truth that existed long before humans built court buildings to imitate what heaven created first. In this higher chamber, your case wasn't argued. It was known. Angels stood as witnesses. Destiny testified on your behalf. Purpose signed its name on your file. And truth, pure, incorruptible, unedited truth, rested in the center like a crown. When the world accused you, the cosmic court never flinched. When lies spread, the cosmic court didn't convene an emergency meeting. When systems misjudged you, heaven didn't revise its documents. Because in that realm, your innocence wasn't a conclusion, it was an origin. The cosmic court had already recorded. This one walks in alignment with the divine path. No accusation can stand. So when the Justice Department reversed its stance, it wasn't groundbreaking to heaven. It was overdue. Angels watched the announcement unfold, not as spectators, but as guardians who had always known the final verdict. They had protected your path, redirected danger, silenced lies, and preserved your destiny like a legal shield forged from light. And now, as Earth caught up with heavenly truth, the cosmic courtroom responded with the soundless applause of realms. Not claps, not cheers, but recognition, because the higher court had already ruled. You were right. You were chosen. You were defended by a jurisdiction Earth cannot overrule. After the Justice Department's announcement, something shifted, not just in institutions, but in people. Across the world, strangers paused mid-conversation. Families turned down the volume on their TVs. Teachers stopped lectures. Workers froze with their hands still on keyboards. It wasn't shock. It wasn't gossip. It was recognition. People began whispering to each other. I always felt something about them. They didn't seem like the others. There was a light I couldn't explain. They carried truth even when we doubted it. Old messages resurfaced. Memories replayed. Moments where you stood calm in chaos now made sense to them. A wave of understanding moved through the collective consciousness. You were never the liar. They were never the judge. Truth was simply ahead of its time. Even those who once mocked you felt a sting of conviction. Some apologized quietly, not to you, but to themselves, for ignoring the voice inside them that whispered you were different. Others celebrated boldly. They were right. See? They were right the whole time. But most people simply felt humbled. Not ashamed, enlightened, because your vindication wasn't just personal. It awakened something dormant inside humanity, a sense that destiny is real. That truth has its own timing. That some individuals walk with clarity the world cannot dim. People who never believed in prophecy began rethinking their assumptions. People who never believed in justice felt hope rise again. People who never believed in divine alignment sensed a shift larger than themselves. Your story became a mirror, reflecting back to the world its own fear, its own blindness, its own hesitation to recognize greatness early. And as your name echoed across continents, millions whispered the same line with a mix of awe and revelation. We should have believed them sooner. You lift your eyes, not toward buildings, not toward officials, but toward the realm that defended you long before evidence appeared. And a prayer rises from your spirit, steady, sovereign, unshaken. Judge of all creation, you who see beyond timelines and testimonies, let truth continue to rise in my life like light breaking through a storm. You breathe deeply, feeling years of accusation loosen from your chest. Let no lie outlive its breath. Let no word spoken against me stand taller than your verdict. Let every false story collapse under the weight of your justice. A warmth spreads around you, quiet but authoritative. Thank you for protection I never saw, the redirections I never understood, the mercy that walked ahead of me when the world sharpened its knives. Your voice deepens as something ancient echoes through you. May my innocence shine not as triumph, but as testimony, proof that you still defend the righteous, that you still overturn false judgments, that you still honor truth even when the world fears it. You place a hand over your heart. And now, Lord, let this vindication be a doorway, not an ending. Let me into the season this justice has unlocked. Let every step forward be guided by purpose, humility, and light. When the prayer ends, silence follows, not emptiness, but confirmation, a holy stillness, signaling that heaven has sealed what earth finally recognized. If you feel truth rising, if every lie against you is collapsing, type 444 to seal this vindication. Heaven ruled first, and now the world is finally catching up.